My name is Jessica Carter. I am 17 years old and I have lived in Springfield, Ohio for as long as I can remember. I go to Jefferson High School, a place where everyone pretty much knows everyone else and where the weirdest things just seem to happen. My life is generally pretty ordinary, but there is one thing about me that makes me a little different from most kids at my school. I love to cook. Not just any kind of cooking either. I mean, I live to try new recipes, perfect my spices, and make dishes from scratch that most of my classmates would think were too much work. My grandma taught me everything I know, and every time I turn flour, eggs, or vegetables into something delicious, I think about her. It is why I took the advanced cooking class this year, even though some people think cooking is kind of lame. I did not care. Cooking class is my escape from stress, drama, and the endless talking of bored teenagers. That kitchen is the only place where the noise dies down and I get to actually do something I love still. High school can be rough, especially if you do not fit perfectly inside all those invisible boxes people want to put you in. If you like to stand out or just mind your own business, there is always somebody who thinks it is funny or cool to make your day harder. I have dealt with it plenty, snarky comments, people sneering at what I am wearing, the whole deal, but nothing could have prepared me for that day in March when the girls in my Friday afternoon chemistry class decided to make me their target. It started out like a normal day, but I stayed behind a bit after cooking class because my garlic focaccia bread needed an extra 10 minutes to bake and the bell had already rung. I hurried through the halls, clutching my hard work in a plastic wrapped plate, and slid into my seat just as the bell rang again for third period chemistry. There were only two other people in the classroom when I got there, Sam and Brittany, girls I knew by sight but had never spoken to. They were not usually unfriendly, but I could tell right away that today was going to be something else. Brittany, the loud one, tilted her head and asked where I got the food from. I told her I made it in cooking class. She asked me three more times, all smiley and fake sweet, like I was lying or had just stumbled into some magic food shop in the hallway. I explained over and over that I made it myself and even pointed to my apron, still dotted with flour. They acted like I was making it all up. Their fake giggles grated on my nerves, but I shrugged it off and started unpacking my books, pretending not to care. I knew people like that would never really get it. I tried to focus on my chemistry worksheet, but suddenly, without warning, Sam got out of her chair, walked right up to my desk, and grabbed my food plate right out of my hands. I stared at her, waiting for her to say she was joking, that it was some dumb prank, but she just turned away, cool as anything, trying to walk back to her seat like she had not just taken something that was not hers. I grabbed her wrist and pulled her back, trying to keep my food from falling to the ground. "What are you doing?" I asked, not yelling yet, but shocked. She whipped around with the fakest surprised look I have ever seen and told me to let go of her. "Let go of my food," I said, feeling the anger rising. She demanded I let her go, now louder, and Brittany started yelling at me to stop hurting her friend. For a minute, it was a tug of war, her arm in my grip, my food trapped between us, Brittany shouting threats across the classroom. Sam finally yanked herself away and took off, nearly running back to her desk. By the time I caught up with them, they had ripped the plastic off my plate and were already shoving pieces of my garlic bread in their mouths, pretending like nothing had even happened. They did not even look up from their phones when I told them again to give the food back. "Just shut up and go away," Sam told me, eyes barely leaving her screen. I stared at them in disbelief, feeling like every ounce of work, every bit of pride I had felt in making that bread was being stomped on under their muddy boots. For a second, I almost walked away. I really did. But there was no way in the world I was going to let them get away with it. I walked over, snatched the plate out from between them, ignoring the way they tried to grab it back, tore off the last of the plastic wrap, and dumped the whole pile into the trash. I knew they only wanted it to mess with me, and if anyone was going to throw away my work, it was going to be me, not those two. I stormed out, my heart pounding with anger, and walked all the way back to the cooking classroom to return the plate. The hallway was empty and cool compared to the mess of my mind. I breathed in, my lungs full of sharp air, trying to calm down before I went back in that room. When I returned, they were both acting like nothing had happened, the remains of my food in the garbage, their phones out like it was any other normal day. That was it. Something inside me snapped. They wanted to act like nothing happened? Fine, I would give them a taste of their own medicine. I walked right up to Sam, cocked my head to the side, and before she could stop me, spat right in her face, just as she had done to my pride an hour before. Brittany screeched, and so I turned and spat at her too. Instantly, pandemonium erupted. They leapt up, cussing me out, their faces twisted in horror, wiping at their cheeks with their sleeves as if I had drenched them in acid. Their shouts filled the room, but I just walked back to my seat and picked up my chemistry book, staring at the periodic table like nothing at all had happened. I could hear them storming out, running down the hall, calling for the teacher. I guess they thought I would get in major trouble for what I did. Maybe they were right, but honestly, in that moment, I could not have cared less. Within 20 minutes, a teacher fetched us and led us down the long, embarrassing hallway to the principal's office. There we sat under the bright office lights, three angry kids and one increasingly annoyed principal. The girls told their side first. They said I had attacked them, that I grabbed Sam by the arm and spit in both their faces. The principal looked at me, arms folded. I told the truth. I explained how they would not leave me alone, how they took my food, ate it, and laughed in my face while I pleaded to have it back. I talked about the weeks before when they whispered behind my back in class, mocking me for wearing my apron or working too hard on projects. I told the principal how I had asked for my food back 5 times and they would not listen because to them my hard work did not matter. The principal was quiet for a long minute, staring at all of us. She finally said Sam and Brittany would get a stern talking to about not stealing, but I would get a 2-day suspension for putting my hands on Sam and spitting on them. That was when I lost it. I was trying to defend myself and my pride, and here I was being punished like some criminal. I told the principal the truth about how it feels to be a girl who finally stands up for herself. I asked her point blank how grabbing Sam's arm to keep her from stealing my food was even remotely as traumatizing as people stealing and mocking me. She just looked at me like she could not believe I would talk back and doubled my suspension to 4 days for disrespect. I wanted to cry, but I was too angry. When my parents picked me up, I expected them to yell at me, but instead they just listened, really listened to every detail. My mom even told me I had guts for standing up for myself, even if my choice was not the best. On the drive home, looking out at the gray spring sky and the endless lines of little houses, a strange sense of satisfaction crept over me. Maybe I had a 4-day suspension, and maybe those girls were back in class laughing about what happened, but now they would always know not to mess with me again. Wherever they went, people would talk about how Jessica Carter fought back, no matter what it cost her. 2 weeks later, when I finally walked back into chemistry, Sam and Brittany pretended not to see me. The rest of the class avoided eye contact, and for a long time, no one bothered me about my cooking or my apron. That kitchen at school became even more important to me, not because I got revenge, but because I knew I had the guts to defend my work, even when the odds were against me. And here is the twist. At the end of the year, during the school fair, my cooking project won second place. Guess who was in the crowd, watching as I accepted my ribbon with a huge, satisfied smile? Sam and Brittany, glaring from the back row, not daring to say anything. Sometimes revenge is not about getting even. Sometimes it is about making sure nobody ever forgets your name.